Andrew Tate and Patrick Bet David. Shout out to Patrick Bet David. Patrick Bet David dropped a few videos, a few clips, and he did the whole video, in which I'm strongly contemplating whether or not I want to break down this Andrew Tate interview tonight. I don't know if I got the energy for it. That full interview was like 4 hours long. And so I'm contemplating whether or not I want to do the full breakdown or anything like that and do a reaction to it. So I'll keep y'all tuned. I usually don't stream on a Tuesday night. We will be streaming on Wednesday night. And then make sure y'all check out the show that we did yesterday with Q. That was a great show. But the first thing that he said was the BBC, which we reviewed that video, was begging for an interview. Begging for an interview. Let me go ahead and break that down. Make sure y'all hit a like for the YouTube algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notification.
We watched the BBC interview with Musk, right? And he goes up and the guy opens up the question with, why'd you agree to do this interview? He says, well, I don't know, what's the name of the BBC? And he's trying to mock them and all this stuff. And there's a part of it where, you know, he calls them out for the mistakes they made. Yeah. And if you go to the bottom of the interview on BBC, you'll see comment section saying, why'd you cut that out? Because Musk puts it on Twitter, but they didn't put it in the interview. Yeah. Then you watch the interview with you. The first question they ask you was, what's the first question? Hey, you've been accused of
serious crimes,
rape or something like that. You know, right off the bat, they asked that question of you. And then you see the interview, Lucy Williamson, I believe, her first question was, you're facing some very serious allegations. Have you raped anybody? That's the open question that they ask you. And the video they put up, the first one, they take it down. The second video they put up, that's 12 minutes, like the highlight one, they turn, the comment section is open. There's 80,000 plus comments there. Then you look at Phillip Schofield. Yeah. And you just brought up Phillip Schofield. For people that don't know who Phillip Schofield, do you mind explaining to people who he is?
Yeah, he was a TV presenter in England. He was very famous. He ran the morning show. And he was grooming children for a very long time. And all the staff knew about it. And the people who worked on the show with them were being groomed by him. And everybody knew. And it was all a big ha-ha-ha joke. And now he's come out saying, oh, please don't pick on me. I feel sad. And the media is saying, I'll leave the guy alone.
He is, when you go look up his Wikipedia, it says he rose to prominence as children's BBC continuity presenter from 85 to 87. Yep. Then went on to do programs on BBC and ITV for Going Live, This Morning, Dancing on Ice, All-Star Mr. and Mrs., The Cube, and a bunch of other things. And they interview him, okay? While he's going through the mess.
Shout out to Heather for the fireball. I appreciate you on Cash App. Also, shout out to Mr. Youngblood, sent the 25 ball and says, thanks for adding so much value. Also, shout out to Mike That Dude for the 10 ball, says the value is priceless. Salute. I appreciate you guys. Executive Suite, Emily, I see you in the chat. I'm going to be reading that shortly. Let's continue, y'all. I appreciate everybody that contributes to the platform. You are absolutely appreciated. Thank you.
You know, after 27 years of being married, this one guy that he groomed since 10 years old, his name is McGreevy, I want to say, something McGreevy, that he's going through the process. Matthew McGreevy, they met at 10 years old at a theater group. At 15 years old, Phillip follows him on Twitter. While the kid is 15, he follows him on Twitter. The guy celebrates it. Long story short, Ruth Langsford, they work together with. She files a complaint. Then right after filing the complaint, McGreevy gets fired. Then he has to take a break. Then he comes out after 27 years telling his wife, you know, and hey, I'm gay, I'm coming out of the closet. He's got 2 daughters. But there's a part of it where Matthew calls his wife and says, hey, your husband and I had an affair together when I was 19 the first time and 20 and all. Nobody knows if it was before or not. The interesting thing about him is his brother, Timothy Schofield, I don't know if you know about his brother.
Oh, what, the one who's in jail for being a pedophile?
Was convicted of 11 sexual offenses involving a child between October 2016 and 2019, including 2 sexual activity with a child. Here's how the interview started. First question, the guy asked him. He says, you've had quite a week. How are you? Opening question. Versus the question they ask you on the opening, right? And then he turns around and says, the media's interest in the affair was motivated partly because of homophobia, alleging that an affair with a much younger woman would have not generated such a scandal. So
before I get into this and before I break down the whole, because I got a couple different clips from this whole interview that I want to go over today. Before I get into it, my first question is something wrong with people that are super famous, and that this is like really becoming a thing, and that a lot of these people are obsessed with people that are underage. So much so to where I remember a few months ago, I did a live stream where I was holding people accountable for whether or not they were actually, something was wrong with men that then talked to women that are underage, and what was the obsession with it. And people were saying that I was off and that I was crazy. Are we living in times that are so perverse to where we give compassion to people that have an interest in people that are underage? Why is this a thing? Why is this big? Why is this promoted? Why is this I don't understand it. I don't understand this sick obsession. This is a sickness. This is perverse. This is nasty. It's all of the nastiest things that you can possibly say. You're not going to get me to have compassion for people that then groom and look at and search for and is willing to do something. That's wild to me. Before we even get into this, this is a wild space. And I know that certain things has always existed, but it's another thing for all of the conversation and justifying it and giving compassion about it right now. We are living in wild times, ladies and gentlemen. Let me continue.
He gets protected.
Yep.
And he says, all those people who write those stuff, do they ever think that there's actually a person on the other end, right? This is proven. By the way, this is the part where even when somebody's watching you and saying, why are they taking him to court? Maybe he did something. Why are they taking Trump to court? Maybe he did something. Why are they taking this guy? He must have done something. There must have been something there, right? It's stuff like this BBC does. If BBC are watching this right now, I want to kind of remind you of your mission statement that you have on your website. We're going to put the link below to your mission statement. You can go find it. Here's what your mission statement is, BBC. This is why you've lost some credibility the last couple of years. To act in public interest, serving all audiences through the provision of impartial, keyword impartial, high quality and distinctive output and services which inform, educate, and entertain. You say you inform, educate, you entertain, yet you conceal, misinform, and your content's quite frankly boring. You're cherry picking on people that you're talking to. So a message like that gets the average person to say, everything with you is allegedly, everything he did is proven, his brother is proven, yet let's leave him alone. Poor guy, let's target him. This is where their argument has leaks in it. And somebody like you can tear it up.
Absolutely. Phillip is part of the club, and I'm not. And this is the thing. I'm a mentally resilient person, right? 14 months they've attacked me. I'm not going to sit and complain about that because that's not how I operate as a man. 14 months they've complained about me. If you type Romania, human trafficking, you type in any of these things, my name comes up, my face, I'm a bad person. I've lost all my bank accounts. I've lost all my social media accounts. I've been vilified all across the matrix in every single possible way. They print my face every single day with something negative next to it daily. Nobody gives a shit about my mental health, right? Because I'm the enemy. And what's scary about this is Lucy Williamson herself, she was begging me for an interview. The BBC were begging me for an interview. I don't need any of these people. The only reason I even sat down with the BBC is because they were begging me. I can go and just say my own words and get plenty of views, right? But the whole time I was in jail, they're begging me for an interview. Can we speak to him on the phone? Maybe you can give an interview from jail. Can we have an interview? Please, 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 please. And I was saying, why do I want to talk to the BBC? And the BBC were saying, no, we don't want to do a hit piece. We want to come across, we want to be impartial.
This is what they're telling me.
This is what they're telling me. We want to be impartial. We believe there's a side of the story that hasn't been told. We're really interested in some of the, let's say, what's the word? I don't want to get this wrong. Inconsistencies in the Romanian justice system. We're very interested in his side of the story. There's been enough hit pieces. We want to tell the other side. We want to hear Andrew Tate's story. And I said no, on repeat. Then they sent me a list of questions. I didn't even ask for a list of questions. That's not who I am. I don't have to script. I never ask for a list of questions. They sent me a list of questions. Here's what we're going to ask. It's about his mental health. It's about the Romanian justice system. It's about the fact he hasn't been charged. His liberty's been deprived. All this stuff. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's a bit interesting. And the Matrix is obviously printing lies about me. And these are some interesting questions from the Matrix for the first time ever. Okay. They walk in here all smiles and happy, all smiley faces trying to take me off guard. I already had my list of questions, right? It's all going to be nice and easy. I sit down and they instantly attack me. They put the cameras on first and they attack.
Yeah, that was a finesse. That was 100% of a finesse. And, you know, it is interesting that Patrick Bet David pointed out their mission statement. And I would even say that I don't believe that anybody has a mission statement that has a media platform at this point. I don't even think that anybody should have a mission statement, because I don't care if you look at Fox News, BBC, PBS, The Atlantic, which is supposed to be a very, very credible source, CNN, ABC, NBC, MSNBC. The goal is for them to make money, because these are not publicly funded or objective entities that allow for information to get out. They're entities that's looking to get views so that they can generate revenue. And so the one thing that I will say about Andrew Tate is that he was smart enough to record it himself so that the BBC couldn't paint a narrative or put out or cut out whatever it is that they wanted to cut out. He protected himself. And he made him look absolutely stupid. And so when the BBC released the interview, or when they issued their fake apologies or anything like that, he had the proof to actually document and justify how they were treating him and then how they finessed him. And another beautiful thing that we have is that we have multiple different platforms that have different interests than what it is that they print on their mission statement, to then be able to hold those entities accountable.
Attack me, expecting me to stutter and make a fool of myself. It's kind of like they tried to sucker punch me. I'm in the club, and they're my friends shaking my hand, and they tried to hit me and knock me out. And this is the thing that's so amazing about it. Yes, I destroyed the BBC, but of course I did, because I'm smarter than all of them. But why should I have to rely on my wit and intellect?
They don't like it when you say that you're smarter than them, and that's one of the reasons why they want to destroy you, Andrew. They want you to have this perception of humility. For some reason, it is more important for us to perceive ourselves as being more humble and shut up and do what it is that the mainstream media says, than for us to actually be honest and tell the truth. And I love it. I love the fact that despite the fact that he's going through all of the things that he's going through, and that he has all of the issues that he has, and then that even if they seized all his cars and they froze his bank accounts and all of this other type of stuff, he's still standing on that shit. And he said, and listen, and I destroyed them because I'm better than them and I'm smarter than them and they can't hold the candle to me. This is how men should be operating. This is how men should act. Stand on who you are regardless of what your situation is, and own that.
To destroy BBC with their research team and their plan, their deliberate plan to try and annihilate not only my credibility, but my life. They are trying to put me back in jail, these people. They're not dishonest. They're genuinely evil, and they don't give a shit. And so why should I even sit there and entertain them? I believe I could slip.
And they can profit off of your suffering. And they will profit off of your suffering.
Every single sucker.
This man is literally fighting for his life and fighting for his freedom. Fighting for his life and his freedom. And they chasing him down, trying to put him in jail in order to be able to paint a narrative and make money off of it.
Punch they throw at me for the rest of human time. I could sit with any of these clowns, and no matter who they sit with their research team, whatever garbage they come up with, I'll make a fool of all of them. But why am I even entertaining them anymore? What's the point? That was the last chance I gave mainstream media. They lied for months to get that interview with me. Completely dishonest, head to toe. And like you said, they sit with Phillip. Are you okay? Are you okay? We heard your mom's upset, that poor old lady. Maybe everyone should stop talking about it because his mom's upset. Let's not talk about it anymore because his mother's old. You're either part of the club or you're not. You have to sell your sanity nowadays. If you sell your sanity, you're afforded protections. That's the reality of it, because if you're a sane thinking person, you don't buy their bullshit. And that's what upsets them. They don't want anybody who thinks for themselves. They need you to they want you to believe exactly what's on the television screen. Believe in COVID. It's COVID now. It's COVID now. Oh, Putin's invaded Ukraine. Putin's cured COVID now. Now it's Ukraine. It's insane till the next thing comes. It's absolutely asinine.
Did any of the questions that they sent you ahead of time?
Zero.
By the way, we didn't. There was no.
No, that's not how we operate.
Asked us ahead of time whatsoever. Did they ask you any of the questions they
Zero.
said they were going to ask you?
Zero. They start with an attack and it became a battle instantly.
Did they ask you at any point what jail was like?
Zero.
What your mental health was like?
Zero.
How, like, you completely missed the mark when everyone wants to know what was jail like. Well, but they don't even ask you that question.
But this is what's so interesting about it. These people are so detached from reality, because they are genuinely detached from reality. They think that finding a video I made 8 years ago, a 4-hour speech I made 8 years ago, and finding one line of it without context that can be misconstrued, they think that sitting down with me and saying that to me is an aha moment. Nobody cares. Because you're taking it out of context, one. And I said you're taking things out of context. She goes, I'm not taking it out of context. I said, if you're presenting it without context, that's taking it out of context. That's what it is. You're lying by omission. I said that to her after the camera's off, and she looked at me because she didn't understand. When you omit details, when you refuse to put in all of the details, you can lie by including one detail which may.
And he's absolutely right. And the most unfortunate part about the whole BBC interview was that not only did he make them look bad, but they would have had more views and they would have gotten more out of the interview. They would have gotten way more out of the interview if they would have just asked him his questions and been objective about the whole thing. One of the things that I try to do when I interview is that I just try to keep the person talking about the things that's meaningful to them. I'm not there to debate you. I'm not there to try to convince you of anything different unless we agree that that's a part of what it is that we're doing as far as, you know, having a conversation. But when I interview certain people, my goal is to get your thoughts, not necessarily inject what it is that I need you to say in order to paint you a certain type of way. They would have gotten way more. People want to know what it was like in jail. People want to know what his situation is. People want to know whether he's broken. They want to know whether or not he's being railroaded, the politics or whatever. The worst thing that the BBC could have possibly did in making himself look bad and reducing the views and ruining the relationship is playing it the way that they played it. And so, idiots, absolutely idiots. Thank you for the super chat, Jamal. Jamal, I'm going to be reading that shortly.
Happen to be true. You can tell the truth and miss all the details around the truth, and you are lying by omission. You're lying by omission. And you're sitting here saying, oh, you said this 8 years ago. Nobody cares because they know me, and they know I didn't mean it in that way, and they know it's taken out of context, and they know that it's an old video on the internet, and it's not even an aha moment they think it is. But they just want to sit with you for an hour, attack you and attack you and attack you, wait for you to make one mistake. If I would have stuttered or made a single mistake, that's the only 3 minutes they would have shown.
Yep.
That's all they want.
They
want that 1 hour, then they take the little bit.
And you would have been thrown in jail as a result of it.
With me, they cut it down to 12 minutes and look terrible in all of it. But if I would have made a single mistake, it would have been the only bit they shown. That's all they care about. Fake news.
Did you tell them, did you say, I'm only doing this if I'm able to record as well?
I said that.
Because I know that's what happened with Trump as well a couple of years ago.
I didn't even tell them, I just recorded it.
Okay, so they didn't know you were recording.
They didn't know I was recording until afterwards, and then I said, that was dishonest, I'm going to release the whole video.
You told them before you released.
I wonder how he was able to get that recorded without them realizing that he was recording it. That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering, he played chess and they was playing checkers. They begged him for an interview. Eventually they got the interview, and then they was looking like a fool after he said, listen, I recorded it and then I'm gonna drop the tapes. And he dropped the tapes. How was he able to get that recorded without them realizing that he was recording? Protect yourself, fellas.
I told them.
There is no contract or agreement with BBC.
No.
Nothing was signed. It was just simply an interview. Okay. Because I think that was very important when you released it for people to see what fully was said versus, and by the way, you know the Phillip Schofield interview that they put up, the 12-minute one that just came out? You know the comments are turned off.
Of course they are.
The comments are turned off. Yours are turned on. His is turned off.
Of course.
And who knows many reasons why they would do that. But going back to BBC. So, okay. They come, they want to ask the questions of you. For some of the people that maybe aren't following the story closely, but they know who you are. We're in the car.
A lot of people saying, well, it was at his house. I know that it was at his house. That's not the question. The question is, why would they go into it not realizing that he has cameras in his house and that they were being recorded? Did they go in and they didn't see a camera, right? Because obviously I would move a little bit differently if I were them with that line of questioning, understanding that it's going to be recorded, that he got cameras everywhere, that Andrew Tate is probably not going to go lying down or take this lying down. He's going to absolutely protect himself considering everything that he's facing and everything that's going on at the moment. Was it a hidden camera? Because that camera was like front and center, right and square, right and looking at you or whatever like that. Like, how could you not know? Or how could you not believe that you was being recorded? That's stupid.
We're driving, and a lot of people are asking questions. We asked the drivers, like, hey, are you going to Tate's place? How do you know we're going to Tate's place? And he says, well, who's Tate? Oh, Andrew Tate. Oh, tell us about Andrew Tate. Well, this is, okay. What kind of a guy is he? He said, I actually really like him. I said, why do you think he's going through what he's going through right now? Oh, it's always because of money. Okay, so we're at a different restaurant. So tell us, why are you going through this? Why is he going? Everybody's saying a similar thing about this, right? But for those who don't know,
y'all don't go into a conversation into somebody else's house understanding that you're being recorded. One of the things that y'all have to understand, right? Anybody that comes to these doors, I have to protect myself. Anybody that comes into my studio, I'm going to protect myself. I'm smart enough to not get me too'd. I'm smart enough to make sure that, you know, nobody is playing me, or if anything has ever happened, I got locks, I got backup hard drives, all of my stuff goes straight into the cloud. So even if you don't think, you got to know who you're dealing with. If you don't believe that you're dealing with a monster, and when I say a monster or a savage, I'm talking about a person that ain't about going by what you say, but they going by what it is that you do, right? That they going to protect themselves and they going to defend themselves vigorously like a savage versus letting you kill their reputation. If you don't think that I'm going to protect myself, if you don't think that you're going to be signing some paperwork on top of it, if you don't think that I'm going to be recording because this is my place in order to protect myself because I have something to protect, you are disillusioned if you just walking in thinking that it's only one way. You're crazy.
There's 3 different camps.
Yeah.
The camp that already sees you guilty, it doesn't matter what they read. So for example, this story here, from BBC came out just last night, 10:30. Andrew Tate choked me until I passed that UK woman claims, right? This is Alice, another anonymous name, just like Sophie, right?
Yeah.
But there's 3 camps. There's those that say, well, look, I'm already thinking he's guilty. I don't like him anyways. I need anything to get me to think he's guilty. Yeah. Whatever it takes. I don't have to do my own due diligence. I just have to hear anything. Then there's a camp that's a diehard fan. There's nothing you can do that they did wrong. In their eyes, it's going to be wrong. Then you have the people in the middle that are the reasonable ones, that are saying, you know what, let me look at this. Yeah. What about this? What about that? The people in the middle may say the following question. They may say, and I may have asked this question from you last time as well. They may say, Andrew, okay, if this guy is so innocent, how can they get you to go to the dungeon for 92 days? How can they put you on house arrest? How can they do all this stuff? Yeah. If you're somebody that was born in US, you lived in UK, how come somebody else isn't coming to bail you out? You got different lawyers. How is it that they can keep doing this to you if you're not guilty? What do you say to those people?
Yeah, and once again, I have to be careful what I say because of the court case, but Romania has a law, or the law in Romania is basically, if you can prove to a judge that it might have happened, they're allowed to hold you up to 6 months during the investigation stage. If I was guilty of anything, I would have been charged long ago. And we're going to talk about charges soon because I still believe they're going to attempt to charge me. But we're now approaching the end of the 6 months they can keep me under a form of arrest for without charge. Typically in Romania, when I was first arrested, the guard said, within 2 weeks, you'll have your indictment. I was like, 2 weeks? He goes, yeah, everyone gets charged quickly. Nobody waits 6 months for a charge. If they arrest you, they charge you, like every other country.
I am going to go over another part of the interview after I finish breaking this one down, but I will not be doing a full breakdown of the entire interview. And this is a full 4-hour interview. And as I see interest related to the clips that then comes back to the money, that's what we'll break down on the Millionaire Morning Show. But as a result of, I am not going to be doing a review of this whole podcast. If y'all want to go and watch it, y'all more than willing to go and watch it and take your own assessment. But I just do not have the capacity to break down a 4-hour live stream that they did. I'm not doing it tonight. I'll drop some other videos. I'll drop some other long form content in order to be able to add value into your life. But this is a lot. This is a whole lot. When I do regular interviews, when they go 2 hours, I'll be like, ooh, we got a lot going on here. We might have to break this up into 2 parts. Let's come back tomorrow. I'm not that type of dude.
Right? The fact they've waited 6 months and gone into my entire life and attempted to find something shows they don't have a case. Why I believe it happened is because they didn't have a case when they were trying to hit me with this garbage, and they thought, you know what? If we put him all over the news, if we slander his name completely, there was a hotline set up. If you're a girl who's been hurt by Andrew Tate, call this
That is crazy.
In the UK. a hotline. So they were attempting to use the media to find what they wanted. Months go by, months go by, months go by, case file's empty, nothing's happening. My lawyer's saying, when are we gonna close this case file? Like, yeah, we're just waiting for some papers, we're gonna close it, we're gonna close it, we're gonna close it. Around the time I was canceled, things started appearing in the case file again. They start spying on me again. Very interesting that it happened around that time.
Thank you, Brock, and thank you, Plato. I'm gonna be reading y'all super chat shortly.
I don't know if they understood that I wasn't protected by the political class of the USA. I don't know what happened. They started to build this case, and they spied on me for all of these months, spending millions of euros, spying on me everywhere I went, trying to find evidence of a crime. Eventually, they get to the end of their legal limit to spy on me, and they don't have any crime. They don't have anything. So in my current court case, we have two Americans who lied, the ones who we have the conversations between them saying they're going to get an Oscar for lying to the police. We have the CCTV of them coming and going. We have their Uber records showing they can travel the country freely. We have their phone calls with their mother where they're saying, yeah, he didn't hurt me, and my boyfriend caught me. We have all of it. We have all the evidence. We have those two, and then there's nobody else who could possibly even take the stand. I don't believe, as high level as this Matrix attack is.
He got a beast editor. He got a really top notch production. Patrick Bet-David is out here killing it in these streets. Let me just give a shout out to Patrick Bet-David and what it is in Valuetainment and what it is that they got going on.
I still don't believe a Romanian judge is going to put me in jail with the dossiers. I've seen it. It's garbage. I don't think I'm going to end up in jail. But it's just taking years of my life, damaging my influence, having bad things to say about me, keeping me under control, keeping me locked in a house. That's all they want to do. They have no interest in the truth. There's no victims. There's no one to take the stand.
Do you know who Sophie is or Alice is or no?
Yeah, so the BBC,
Ali?
That's really interesting. So then the BBC says, well, we found victims because the BBC have done enough investigative journalism to understand that the case is garbage and there's no victims. So they said, well, we found victims. They found one called Sophie first. That was a few months ago. I think I was still in jail when Sophie appeared.
Is that her real name?
No, that's her fake name. So they have a girl with a fake name called Sophie. They don't show her face. They ask me, what do you think about Sophie? How can I comment on Sophie when Sophie isn't real? Firstly, you've made her up. Secondly, I don't know who you're talking about. You're saying that 9 years ago, I was emotionally controlling? That is the most subjective garbage accusation. What does that mean? 9 years ago, I said you shouldn't party with those guys in the club. Is that what I said? I don't know.
This is absolutely insane that we even in a space in this society, in this world, and I'm not even talking about Western culture, even in Romania and even across the internet, we live in a space where a man can literally, his whole reputation can be killed. His whole life can be disrupted. All of his cars, the things that he worked for, his influence can be completely taken away from him based off of an agenda, an idea, a theory, and him going against the grain of what's happening in society. We can have mythical people that make up something, and you can have your whole life put on hold for the next 6 months and have to spend countless dollars defending yourself against something that's not even real and not even true. If this does not show you that this is the biggest assault on men, I don't know what does.
Know what I said. I don't know who she is, if she exists at all. And they're saying 9 years ago you were emotionally controlling. Sophie said so. Who's Sophie? We're not telling you. What's emotionally controlling mean? We're not telling you. What comment do you want me to? If this person even exists, which they don't, then I destroy the BBC, make it very clear to them that Sophie doesn't exist, on repeat, because she doesn't. And 2 days later, Alice appears. What's interesting about this is that DCAUT, the federal agency inside of Romania, along with help from international partners, have tried so hard, spending millions of euros with federal level tools to find a victim so they can put me in jail. And they can't find anyone. But the BBC just pulls them out whatever they want. The BBC.
So the question then becomes for me, what incentive do they have to do this? Why are they so gung-ho to chase down Andrew Tate? It's got to be financially involved. It got to be as associated with the fact that if they convict him, maybe they can seize his stuff. It's got to be some other reason outside of the fact that they don't like Andrew Tate. I didn't even know Romania was the type of place that was aligning with this feminist agenda similar to Western culture over here in America. I didn't know that. I thought that Romania, one of the reasons that he went to Romania was because he had the freedom to be able to really, really express his thoughts and to live his life and to absolutely, completely highlight and talk about the things that's meaningful to him. I did not know that they were similar to America over there in Romania. I'm always trying to figure out what is the incentive for people to then go after somebody that is successful, and more importantly, that is not actually physically hurting anybody. It's always weird to me.
Where do these people come from? And I say this every single time. If anybody
Classy Beats, I could believe that he's too powerful. But if somebody becomes powerful, then you want them to become your ally. You don't want to necessarily take them down. If somebody becomes powerful, you want them to be your ally. You don't want to go up against them. That's the dumbest thing that you could possibly do.